get to your scheduled Rotary content. We are going to Cars and Coffee this morning, and I'm running late. Told Charles I'd meet him at 7, just off the interstate. And well, I woke up at 7, so it is what it is. We're out watching Top Gun pretty late last night. The late showing at the movie theater. So we're in the vet, making up time, because this thing's got the need for speed. And we're headed to Nashville Cars and Coffee at the big super speedway deal. Should be a good time, so let's get there. Deal. Good looking car. Alright guys, we made a scheduled stop, or unscheduled stop at the parts pull apart yard because they've got an RX-8. It is a manual. It does have an engine. The engine does turn over. But really, we're here because there's a transmission in this car. We're trying to debate, it's a nice carpet right here to lay on. Is it worth... Oh man, it's actually not that bad under here. Is it worth getting the transmission out of this, or is it worth just leaving it here? I kind of want to get the transmission though. Not for my car, but Calvin's truck. We're going to do an RX-8 trans in, which we don't even know if this one's good or not. It's kind of just a pot shoot to see. But it's how much time do we want to invest getting this off? Oil coolers are just as beat up as mine. Did you find that Jetta?
Yeah.
Sweet. What do you think, Charles? Think we get the trans out or what? I'm not taking the engine, even though we probably should take the engine, but I really don't want to bring it. I don't think I got enough cash for all of it. It's mostly apart though, which is why it's like we should probably just get it. You think? I think I can get that trans out in 20 minutes, not even 15. All right, well, Charles is smiling, so I think we're taking the trans. Words of encouragement. So, get one of these out. Somebody already yanked the shift knob. If you could smell the inside of this car, man, it smells fantastic. We'll pop that trim off right there, drop the trans out the bottom, and we'll go home with the transmission. So, sounds like fun. You'll always see the half-inch wrench plus 1 penny is 7/16. This is called 17 millimeter plus a screwdriver is 15 millimeter.
I mean, I could climb up here.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to get these 2 bolts out. Okay. We are not defeated. We are just seceding for the day.
Is that both? Is that just one?
I mean, that's often enough. I think it's both.
I think it's both too. It ain't got no plugs in it.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's still, they all sound about the same, and it turns over freely, so I think there's a good chance there's good parts in it.
I'd say so. Yeah, it'd be worth the trip to come back
All right.
and spend $100.
So, we didn't pack crazy tools today, because, you know, it's a nice day. We weren't feeling like crawling under an RX-8 all day. But now that we know this is good, ideally this is still here next weekend. And it's been here for 18 days, so I would assume if somebody wanted the engine, they'd have taken it. But we're going to come back with Calvin and more force. Calvin has big impacts and stuff, fancy tools. So we're going to use his tools to get this thing out. So back to the shop. Turbos, finishing up the FD. All right, guys, we're back at the house. We got the Corvette getting its yearly oil change. One of the best things about a dry sump LS7 Z06 is it takes 10 quarts of oil, and you really don't have to be afraid to run it 10,000 miles on an oil change. I mean, there's 10 quarts of oil in there, guys. The first oil change, I changed it at like 7,000, and the oil looked brand new. So 10,000 miles on this one. Let's look at the FD. All right, so the real reason we're here, I apologize for all my fans running in the background because it is hot today. Last night I went ahead and cleaned all the charge piping. Okay, so these bits, I'm not trying to make this thing showroom neat, so there's a little bit of oxidation on there, but the important thing is that all the oil residue from this car having exploded the turbos is cleaned out of the charge piping. I need to pull this side off. There's really no way for me to clean the intercooler out really without like making a huge mess, so we're gonna get this side off, make sure it looks good in there, and then put that back together. This side's all done, so we just need to button this up. These pipes aren't that hard to get to. If you're patient, the rear one, put the Y pipe on first, and then put the rear pipe on. There's some vacuum lines you need to hook up. I suggest you label them when you take them off. I'll do my best to show you where they go, but largely it could be different. You know, these few ports here, some of them are pass-through ports, whereas they come out on the inside of the manifold. They're just a fitting to go through to something else. Some of these go to manifold vacuum. Down here, you have two lines that go from your actuators into the metal hard lines, and then the other two lines go to this front turbine housing here. These metal hard lines bolt on after you put the inlet pipe on, and then this car doesn't have the stock inlets or intakes. It has HKS intakes, which is largely just filters and one pipe that's different, I think. It's just this pipe that's different. And then you have the blow-off valve pipe that goes from the main section of your Y pipe, which would be about here, turns into the blow-off valve pipe, which sits here, and then goes into this V-mount. So this looks like an old school HKS V-mount. I mean, it looks pretty right. So excited to see that. Excited to get this thing done today. Cars and Coffee was awesome. A couple of the cars I saw there that I really liked, besides my buddy's cars. There was the Evo 4 there. It was black. It was sick. If you don't know, I love old school rally. That is my jam. You see, I used to race RX7s, first gens, did a couple rallies one year in the yellow car, the Banana, which is now out in California, which I sold it, which is kind of sad, but we can always build another one. I got the spare chassis. So this was the original door off that car that I kept from Southern Ohio Forest Rally. We built the Millen Tribute Rally car. So the car at Cars and Coffee, you always got to ask yourself this question, right? Every time you go to a car show, and if you don't, you should do it. Ask your buddies. What car besides yours would you leave with, right? So out of all the cars at Cars and Coffee that were there today, and y'all are like, oh, there was Lambos and all sorts of super. There's a Ford GT, which is really high on my list, the 06 GT. But in all honesty, there's a black Evo 4. I'm just a big Evo guy. I would love to have an Evo 4. And really, I would love to have an Evo 1 or 2. Those are kind of, I like the small ones. I don't need to fit tarmac tires on the Evo that I buy. If I ever buy an Evo 1 or 2 with some 235s on it or 225s on like a 17-inch wheel probably, because it'll be largely driven on the street. But it needs to have enough tire, right, so that at 400 horsepower, I can spin all 4 tires launching the car. That's all I want. I want a white one, rally spec it out, make it look sick. So, back to this, rant aside. One other thing that we're going to be unable to change right now, but we will change on this car this next week. I got parts coming in that aren't here yet. The pulleys, right? So, on an FD, okay, there's normally an air pump over here. And your pulley would go from the alternator around the bottom of the water pump, up over the air pump, back around the bottom of the crank pulley, and then up over the water pump, and then we do that loop. There's not a diagram of it in here. That sucks. So this kit is a underdrive pulley kit, so it slows down the alternator and the water pump, but the underdrive pulley kit works as an air pump delete because you get this drive on the water pump from this side, a little bit, this, no air pump. The only issue with this is you have to put a ton of upward pressure, okay, on the E-shaft to keep this belt tight, to keep this water pump from spinning. See how I can just turn that? That is not good, okay? What that means is that your water pump is likely to spin at high RPM. So there's a couple different kits you can buy. I went with the full function engineering kit. Basically that kit puts another pulley out here, just an idler pulley, so that this belt can now go under the water pump, back around that pulley, back around the bottom. What that does is allows you to run less belt tension, which allows your front stationary gear bearing to not wear out super fast. Basically these bearings are set up so it's just an oil layer in between the bearing and the E-shaft, and typically when you crank down, I think I got one right here that's smoked. Nope, this one's actually not too bad. It's not even the front one. This is the front one. Oh, there you go. Perfect example. Had a rear. When you have, to see right here on this front bearing how the coppers wore out on the top of it, when you have your belts too tight on your RX-7, it will pull the E-shaft up in that bearing, and you will wear out that bearing super fast. It's super common. Everyone to over tightens their belts. You don't need your belts to be playing a harp music tight. It just, you don't need that. So we're gonna put that FFE kit on here. We're gonna get the stock water pump and stock alternator pulleys, which you already saw we have, put on this car, and then that full function kit comes with the right size belt with a part number, so you can go on their website, find the part number for the belt if you need to replace it, and we're gonna put the long belt back on this car and just get that right. The underdrive stuff is fine if you're going to the track. You know, and I wouldn't run it like this. I would run the underdrive pulleys with the FFE kit. If you're, you know, raging on it, like I have underdrive pulleys on the RX-8, and that helps keep the coolant temps down. But for this car, street car, stock car, we don't need that. We need it to be stock, so we're gonna put that back. But I'm gonna get the left side charge piping put on. We're gonna get the right side charge piping off and clean. Get all the vacuum stuff hooked up. We'll prime the oil system, and then this thing's ready to put the EGI fuse back in and fire up. Man, stock amplifier, stock power antenna. As soon as you touch that key, 65,000 things start happening. So, cranking that over, it didn't draw too much coolant down. We pulled this apart, drained the radiator, just so that way all the coolant was out of the turbos. All that stuff was clear. So it's gonna take a little bit of coolant to fill it back up, but we didn't drain the block, so that was still mostly full. It shouldn't take too much. So, we got good oil pressure. I'm gonna crawl into there, inspect everything for leaks, and then I'll put the EGI fuse in and we'll fire this thing up. All right, time to hunt for oil leaks. So this has all the stock emission stuff, stock, everything hooked up. So it's gonna do all the, can't find the light, all the idle up, down, cold start. I don't know why it's idling down like that. Good oil pressure. Coolant temp's not coming up yet. I'm gonna top the coolant off. View it, it switches itself. It might just need a slight bit of extra idle. Smells like it's running really rich. I don't see any oil leaks. Turbos sound fine. Everything sounds good underneath. So definitely puffing rich. Check this out. Just black smoke. So something's got it wigged out. O2 sensor is hooked up. These cars don't have mass airflow sensors or whatever. They have a MAP sensor back there. So like a MAP, like a giant big thing that goes in here. So I think I'm going to smoke test this for vacuum leaks. Typically a vacuum leak would be a high idle. I don't know why this is surging like this. I didn't have any of the manifolds and stuff off the car, just the cold side stuff. But, and like the turbos. So, it is, of course, always the same. It was running fine before, you know. So I don't know what we knocked on or hit, or these old crunchy wiring harnesses, you never know. And something could just be wigging it out. Why it's running super rich like that. It's definitely fuel smoke. It's not oil smoke. The car would have been up in white smoke by now if the turbo seals were trashed. So, chasing issues, always fun. I'll let you know what we find out. Alrighty, folks. This is my smoker, if you've ever seen it. It's a Charles contraption. Paint can. Diesel glow plug, baby oil, hooked in with a grill propane regulator to my air here. So we just clip this to the battery. Smoke starts coming out. Smoke is in the air. All right. So we're sealed up tight like a tiger. We got no vacuum leaks. Smoke tester yielded no smoke. So what's the other thing in this situation that we changed, or I say situation, the equation that we changed, okay? So in pulling the exhaust off, right, and all this oil, there's an O2 sensor in there. The O2 sensor could very well be dirty, contaminated with oil. All the oil that's in the exhaust had to go past the O2 sensor, so we could have very, very easily fouled that O2 sensor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the O2 sensor out. We're going to see how dirty it is and see if maybe we need to replace that. Because a dirty O2 sensor could easily keep the car from going into closed loop or whatever, and it would freak it out and make it run rich and do something. That's the only part of the equation in here that we touched. Now, one of these vacuum lines could be hooked up wrong, but I highly doubt it. There was only 2 or 3. They were only the right length to reach where they went, and everything's back where it's supposed to be. So for some reason, I don't think it's going to be a vacuum issue, but it very well could be. But I am... Okay, so I forget where I was. My air compressor kicked on, and then I cleaned the shop for a little bit. We're going to pull the O2 sensor out and check that. Probably already said that. I don't think it's a vacuum issue because it revs and everything's all hooked up right. I'm going to put a fresh cap on where I had the smoke tester, which I already removed. And yeah. We're gonna see what it does. That's about all we got. Check the O2 sensor. I can clean it and see if it works. Just spray with some brake cleaner or something and get it flushed out. So let's do that. Troubleshoot this further. Get this rich condition fixed. O2 sensor's out. Pretty black. Pretty black. Like very crusty black. So I'm going to do a quick Google and see what the best way to clean one of these is. And then ideally that just says okay to spray with excessive amounts of brake cleaner. And we're going to try to get a lot of this carbon crap cleaned off of here. And put this back in and see if that helps. If it still can't figure it out and it's still doing it after we clean this, based off of my quick forum searches, this, that, and the other, it could be a map sensor issue, or it could be this. It could be stuck injector, too much fuel pressure. Largely, I'm going to believe that it's probably this. Maybe a fresh set of plugs. But here's the thing. The turbos, right, ate the seals. All the oil went out the exhaust. So none of the oil was in the combustion chamber. So I don't really think it's plugs. I mean, an injector could fail whenever. Like that could just literally, you could take your car to a shop, put brand new injectors in it, fire it up, they tune it, runs perfect, leave, injector craps a bed. Like it's an electrical component, stuff happens. So we're going to clean this. I don't think it's an injector or fuel pressure related because this car's all stock, but you never know. So we're going to start here. I'll let you know. We'll fire it up right now. Well, guys, you ever just start doing something and then something goes horribly wrong? Well, we're not talking horribly wrong, as in the fate of the car is at stake here. But I'm sitting here cleaning this O2 sensor, right? Soaking it in some Chem tool. This little, it's nice. This is actually a piston out of a brake caliper for a first gen. It's too rusty to get working in. So I had this brake, or the O2 sensor soaking in there. I was swishing it around, cleaning it with some brake cleaner, etc. I got it looking, it looks pretty good. But in reality, guys, here's the thing. Okay, on an O2 sensor, you have the outer cage, right? You have this like cover, and then there's some perforations. The gases go through the perforations, and the sensor is actually inside the inner barrel. So it's not like if you clean the outside of this off, you're not actually cleaning the sensor. Fun fact. So anyways, you want to soak these and stuff. I learned all that between the last clip and now. But what you're going to see, you can see there's a fundamental issue with this O2 sensor right now, and that is that there's no wire attached to it. And that is because when I took it off, the wire was hecka frayed. And my guess is that it was probably hecka frayed already, or it got frayed like that whenever I took the downpipe out, because I didn't take the O2 sensor out of the downpipe. I just pulled it out and set it off over on the shelf. And, I'm careful. I didn't bang it into a bunch of stuff, but I bet with this wiggling around, somebody putting a downpipe in there that doesn't have FD RX7 experience and knows how to hold it right to get the bolts in, probably frayed this. So I'm sitting over here cleaning it, and I wish it around. The wire flipped over, fell off. So now we need an O2 sensor. And I'm going to guess that no local place is going to have a factory O2 sensor for this car. Because this one's, it's OEM, guys. We're not putting an aftermarket O2 sensor in this thing. I'm going to talk to the guy that owns it. We're going to get the right deal for a Mazda for this. So need to get an O2 sensor, and that's the end of this video, because the O2 sensor is going to come in the mail, and we got to put that in. Y'all heard the car run, starts, no leaks. I'm amped for that. I don't know why I guess ideally the O2 sensor fixes it running rich. If you think about it, it's been shoveling oil out the turbos for, he said it'd been smoking for a couple months, so I don't know how much he was driving it, but I know that much oil consumption definitely could foul an O2 sensor. So we're going to start here with something simple. We know it has no vacuum leaks. So a few things to tidy up, guys. But thank you guys very much for watching. I'm happy we got all this thing back together. As far as tips and tricks, how to put your FD together. The dog just came in perfectly for the end of the video. Tips and tricks on putting your cold side stuff together. Get the downpipe on first. I had to take the wide pipe back off, put the downpipe back on, which was while the camera was on the charger. Put all your cold side stuff on. It's got brand new metal, the metal gaskets that they provide. Tighten those down, super nice. Those are beautiful gaskets because you can take them back apart, put stuff back together. There's no silicone on a paper gasket and all that BS. So pretty amped for that. Pretty stoked for no boost leaks and no boost leaks. We have no vacuum leaks. We don't know if we have boost leaks yet, but it literally goes from here to here to here, and then make sure the wide pipe's sealed. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. So in the next video, we're going to get that full function kit for the pulleys and stuff. We'll get that installed. We'll get an O2 sensor installed. And then this thing will be check the box off, done. So we'll see you in the next one. Peace, guys. And keep it rad. Ready? What do you think? We have so many things waiting on parts right now. We got a housing. We got an O2 sensor I got to order now. Get from Mazda guy. We got parts to clean, which we'll do tomorrow. We'll start cleaning this stuff. Just parts coming in. Right? Is that what you feel like? How about this? Jump if all the parts are going to arrive on the same day and we're going to have to crank out a bunch of work in like 2 days. Dog says parts come in. We don't have to work really hard in 1 day. Peace, guys. Alright, my dudes. Welcome to today's video. Got to get this FD going. I don't know if this is going to make it a new video, make it the next video, make it whatever. I got a new O2 sensor from the parts store. This is a universal one. We're going to stick this baby in there, see if this fixes the issue. It's probably not a new video because it's the next day. They had one in stock. Listen to that. Now let's just hope that it doesn't just settle in and start doing that stupid rich thing again. Dang it. Right back into what it was doing there earlier. Okay, so the O2 sensor didn't fix it. Something's tripped up. Alright guys, well, I'm going to go back to mowing the yard and doing the yard work stuff. That was my yard work attire. And I'm going to talk to some of my buddies and see what I can figure out as to why the car is doing this. Take a little bit of a video of it. Run it rich, stock ECU. Don't really know what's going on. I don't think it was doing this before, but I'm going to go back and watch the video and make sure. It could have been doing this and just hidden by the excessive smoke. But you can see just a little bit of black smoke. It's idling about 700 RPM and just catching itself. But with that, guys, the second end of the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.